Sharing Space
on the Clement Manyatela Show.
702.
Time for the sharing space. This is a moment for us to share our stories. Always appreciate you sharing our stories with us. Whatever happened with you, wherever it happened, send us an email on cm@702.co.za if you think it's a story that other listeners who are part of the 702 family you would like to weigh in on, or maybe you need advice from the CM Show family. You can send us an email on cm@702.co.za. Today we've got an email from Anonymous, and I'm going to read this email to you, and then afterwards we're going to take your calls and your WhatsApps. If they're asking for advice, please be so kind to advise them. If they're just asking for your inputs, let me know if you faced something similar yourself. And the email says, Dear Clement, as a pedestrian who navigates the local roads on foot, I've observed a disturbing trend that warrants attention. It appears that many drivers on our roads have adopted a culture of recklessness and disdain towards pedestrians. Day in and day out, I witness drivers exhibiting a blatant disregard for the safety and well-being of those on foot. Rather than yielding on pedestrians, they accelerate, often forcing us to scurry for safety. It's not uncommon to see drivers deliberately steering towards couples strolling along the sidewalk as if to assert their dominance over the road. Just recently, I witnessed a driver intentionally drive through a puddle, splashing water everywhere despite having ample space to avoid it. This incident left me wondering, is this behavior a manifestation of malice or mere thoughtlessness? I pose this question to your listeners. Do fellow pedestrians share my experience? And to the drivers, I ask, do you engage in such behavior with intent, or is it simply a result of complacency? Do you, as a driver, also notice some behavior that you may not like from pedestrians? And what do pedestrians do that is an inconvenience to motorists? I know that sometimes we also seem to have a disregard for cars and we cross in places we should not. But this behavior of motorists is unacceptable. How do you motorists navigate this, and how do we as pedestrians navigate it as well? I eagerly await your thoughts on this matter. Anonymous. Okay, Anonymous, thank you so much for sending us that email. And there are a number of issues you're raising here. And I have to agree largely with what you're raising here. I think we do witness drivers exhibiting a blatant disregard for the safety and well-being of pedestrians. I mean, when you go and, in fact, I've seen sometimes even in areas where there's a school, right? And there's a hump. Kana, what is that thing when there's a hump, Abel? And then there's like those little signs where with white linings. Kana, what do you call that? So when there's yes? What is that? When there's a hump in a school area, like you have to cross over, there's like the what? Yes, do they call it the zebra crossing? Really? I didn't know that. So meaning that, okay, you guys can cross, we have to wait? Abel, did you know that? They call it a zebra crossing? Okay, that crossing. I've witnessed that even in streets where there's like schools. Drivers have no regard for the fact that the school is out or it's a break and there are lots of pupils or students that are going to be crossing the road. When they are in a rush, they're in a rush. And I wonder how we navigate that. And as a pedestrian yourself, maybe you can share your thoughts with us. But also as a driver, is this something you've witnessed, this total disregard for pedestrians? Or have you also witnessed uncomfortable and problematic behavior from pedestrians themselves? So for me, that's one thing I've witnessed, where we don't respect the zebra crossing anymore. As drivers, we're so constantly wanting to speed up. In fact, people are the ones who wait for you. I was at the airport just the other day and I was crossing over. There was that zebra crossing and people are just driving through even when there are people waiting to cross over. We do not respect that anymore. What I've witnessed as a pedestrian / runner is that when you are running, when I'm jogging, I'm running on the road, I witness that motorists want to just dominate. They want to fill the road. You know, sometimes there is no enough pathway for me on the other side. So you're running, yes, not on the road, but you could be stepping on the road a little bit. And sometimes you've got drivers who are kind enough because the roads are not busy at that time. They give you some space. But you've got some drivers that are not going to care whether even when there's a car not coming on the other side, they just want to go towards your side. And I don't know what your experience has been as a runner. What's your experience with motorists even when you run? I want to expand it to that point because I've realized that there are some motorists who are so impatient with runners on the roads. And there are some roads that don't have clearly marked areas where people can run. And I often witness that motorists, some of them, just don't have patience for runners. They want to just dominate that road, even though they could give you some room as a runner. What's your experience? 011-883-0702. You can send your WhatsApps as well on 072-702-1702. It's 19 minutes before 12.
The Sharing Space
On the Clement Manyatela Show.
702.
All right, 15 minutes now before 12 o'clock. Let's go straight to your calls. Semi, you are in Pretoria. Good morning.
Hi, Clement. How are you?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you for accepting my call. You know, Clement, in South Africa, we have a problem of law. No law is actually followed in this country. People do as they please on the roads. There's a crossing in some school in this other place in Randfontein. You can see there's a zebra crossing, and there's also a traffic light that is not working. But usually when the traffic light is not working, the law says it must be stop and go. But they never do that. There's a zebra crossing, and also there's a traffic light. But motorists, they never do that. They come there speeding, and there are children crossing. There's a preschool plus a high school there. So you can imagine one day someone's going to get hit, and I can tell you, the politicians one day will wake up and start saying, yeah, what time? You know, they always rush last minute when things are happening, but they ignore anything until something bad happens. That's when they start scrambling and I'm looking for answers. Yeah, why was not it fixed? You see those kind of things.
Yeah.
South Africans is just in peril. We're in trouble, man. We are in trouble.
Yeah, Senzo in Pretoria. Thank you. Semi, you are also in Pretoria. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement. Clement, the problem here in South Africa is that there is just no accountability. Motorists in South Africa have this thing in their minds that because they pay the fuel levy, then they own the road. I mean, you can see, for example, when there's traffic, heavy volumes of traffic, they'll drive on the pavement where pedestrians are supposed to, on the sidewalk where pedestrians are supposed to walk. So as a result, pedestrians don't have anywhere to walk, especially for taxis. You know, when there's like a gridlock on the road. Hello?
Yeah, we hear you.
On the side of the road.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, this whole thing of driving around the humps, those humps are made for a reason, so that you can lower down your speed. They don't, when they go to a pedestrian crossing, they just run over the pedestrian crossing. They don't wait for the road users as well. And also this whole thing of texting and driving, using cell phones while driving, which contributes for 25% of the
road accidents
in South Africa.
Yeah. No, true. Semi, I got you in Pretoria. Thank you so much for that contribution. And then Beyond says, Clement, that listener, Anonymous, touched my heart. I don't know how many times I got splashed over my clothes, leaving me soaking wet. And by the way, I'm on my way to work and I'm forced to work with wet clothes. When it rains and there's water on the road, I run to go stand far so that the water doesn't reach me. But also like people who just like go and you drive next to a pond knowing that that's going to end up splashing people with water. Can you imagine people who are on their way to work? That's just so uncaring. Nicholas, you are in Pretoria. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement. How are you?
Sure, man. Go ahead.
I'm good. You see, this thing it starts with respect. if both the motorists and the pedestrians can respect each other, I think the problem could be resolved. Why I'm saying like this? Okay, on those pedestrian crossing and zebra crossing, zebra crossing, the motorists have to adhere. But then my problem is the pedestrians on the highway, on some robots and intersections, whereby they just cross, they just don't care. You the motorists, you just have to stop for them and whatsoever. I don't know whether it's the issue that people just want to get the paid from RAF or whatsoever, but then in some instances there are pedestrians who don't even care where they are crossing at what time. Does the robot allow them to cross whatsoever? They just go through. So if people we can just start to respect each other, I think the problem can be resolved. That's my take on that.
True. Nicholas, thank you for that. Your take. Milton, you are in Kempton Park. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement. Are you well?
I'm all right. How are you?
A very touching topic, man. The general lawlessness in South Africa on our roads is alarming, Clement. My take on the issue is that there's a general lack of respect of rules of the road. Pedestrians, because they don't have a license to walk, they've got a sense of entitlement. Equally, motorists are generally unkind towards pedestrians, Clement. And this is very painful because what happens is that we've got a high death toll on our roads because of pedestrians jaywalking. They don't even look at the robot. They just cross the road, thinking that the motorist must stop, because if a motorist hit a pedestrian, generally the consequences are dire, so it's not worth it. But can we run education programs where even pedestrians learn to respect the rules of the road?
Yes,
it is quite sad that some motorists would splash quite deliberately pedestrians walking along the road. It's not on. We need to respect pedestrians because they need to walk the roads. They're walking, they're innocent and all of that.
Yeah, and it goes both ways, Milton. Pedestrians as well. Sometimes also their behavior on the roads is, it's really, really not in light of respect for other motorists or even other pedestrians, for that matter. So I think there's some thought that is also needed on their side. Rev on Twitter says, Clement, I've been observing pedestrians for quite some time. Pedestrians also just don't respect cars, man. They just don't move or give a vehicle space. They drive. Go Ivory Park, you'll be so amazed. Rough money is a problem. Just my take, bro. That's a message from Rev there. Rev, talking about Rev. Sandra, you're in Benoni. What are your thoughts?
Yes, good afternoon. My complaint is that I have been a driver and I have been a pedestrian before and after. And now, currently, with my eyesight impairment. And so now I do have to walk everywhere. And I experience so much vehicles cutting in front of me where the traffic light is showing that the pedestrian is green and that we can cross. The vehicles just continue, the drivers just continue to cut in front of the pedestrian. So, even when there is an end route, because they think we're in the way, but it's our right to walk across, they are supposed to yield. Now, even when there is no traffic light, we have to try and do our best to look, even though we're vision impaired and we have a white cane or in a wheelchair for other people, elderly. We have to continue to look to see where there's traffic, and then we try to cross the road, obviously when it's safe, and we still get used to that. Nobody yields for the pedestrian. And it's just not right that we get used to that, and it's they're not obeying the law when it comes to the pedestrian traffic light. So that's my complaint. Yeah,
thank you for your contribution, Sandra. Absolutely get where you're coming from. Sandra in Benoni, let's go to your WhatsApps.
Good afternoon, Clement. Yeah, it's true. I was nearly knocked down in a zebra crossing, somewhere in a shopping center. The guy was just, zebra crossing, I thought that you're supposed to stop and it's like a yield sign, but no, you have to run for your life. They don't even know zebra crossing, which is zebra crossing is for pedestrians. This is very, very ridiculous and it's dangerous. They are very dangerous drivers.
Morning, Clement, and your listeners there. Listen, the issue of misbehaving on the roads, it's the listener who sent the email is quite correct, but it goes both ways. Even the pedestrians, I have some issues with them personally. Most of them, in terms of the intersections where you have traffic lights, it seems like they just never know when to cross and when not, or which traffic light to check whether it's safe to cross. And something else, if you check at the townships, mostly in the townships, people are just strolling on the streets when the car comes their direction. It seems like you as the driver, you have to swerve away from them. It's like they're just walking on the streets, and half of the time there are sidewalks. So yeah.
I can't enter here. I am a motorist myself, and I don't want to lie. I obey my brother, and I hear what the writer says every day, especially in Pretoria, where I work in. Claims that they even close the intersection. When the roads are not working, the motorists, they close the intersection. You cannot drive through because now they've blocked the way. You understand? I feel him or her. I don't want to lie. And then what aches me, as you say, there is a zebra crossing whereby a pedestrian must cross. They don't cross there. Claims that they just walk in the middle of the road. You are coming with a car, you almost bump the person. There is a pedestrian crossing here for him to walk in. Whereas going with the child, she's crossing there or there, he's crossing there. The pedestrian crossing is here. What are you teaching to your child? You understand?
Yeah, what are you teaching, especially when you're walking with children? Hey, Zolile, you're in Tembisa. Hi.
Hi, Clement, how are you?
Sharp, man, go ahead.
I'm good, thanks. My biggest worry, Clement, is the lawlessness on the roads of Tembisa. Everywhere you go, there's intersections, you see, that I don't go to. And I don't think I'm the only one. It's every day, you see, there's traffic jams at Busy Corner intersection, Beach Acres intersection, Emateni. It would take you up to an hour, you see, to drive a distance of about 500 meters, you see, in traffic every day. And the EMPD cops and the JMPD, they are nowhere to be found to us. It's not even an SAPS or anybody from the law enforcement agencies.
Yeah.
Secondly, you see, the traffic wardens at Esangweni section every morning, they will be standing there, folding their arms and doing nothing to control traffic. Taxis do as they wish, and they park anywhere in the middle of the road, and people are struggling. They find it difficult to cross over to the other side of the road to the taxi rank, and they must duck. You see, these guys of the taxi, lawlessness is very high, you see, on the roads of Tembisa. And thirdly, there's these bus stops for Harambe that have never been used, but there are security guys, you see, sitting there the whole time in the rain. The people that use these Harambe buses, they wait for the buses outside even in the rain. When on earth are these bus stops going to be functional?
Yeah. So Lile in Tembisa, thank you.
Hi, Clement. I get your point, and I agree with the listener, with Anonymous there. But the other one, Clement, is people that block sideways. Where it's a sideway, when you build whatever fancy thing there and you expect people to walk on the road. Then the people that don't walk on the sideway or run on the sideway when there's a side path for you to run or walk on and you choose to do it on the road. Clement, it's amazing. We, like, all of us just need to take some introspection actually into everything, because we don't think that our actions have effects on other people. Where you build a fancy little shrub outside your yard and you block the sideway and people can't walk there, but you expect them to walk in the street. So I think we all need to take accountability and fix everything that we've gotten incorrectly so far.
Morning, Clement. Sam from Pretoria West. Clement, this to me just says we lack discipline both ways, from pedestrian side, from driver's side. But also, to me, it sends something different. I don't know, maybe people will understand. It seems like the unemployment could be resolved because the sports department and recreation, they should just have to look at maybe on the ever planning, start to implement the planning. Or, the runners should have their way, where they run. And then, traffic officers, they need to be intensified, identify the bylaws and all those traffic laws that need to be there. And also when they issue licenses also, they have to, actually there's no way that we cannot have people that are not working. Same from Pretoria.